content tunatema ni lethal. Ataisikiliza imwingie mpaka kwa artery. After imemconsume hali ya hatari. Couple of years later mtoto wako akibako utablame serikali kwa kuinduce mtoto yenyewe kwa vitu hatari. Mvuto mbele na nyuma, hakuna peupe mwinjilisti akitazama nyuma kutamani mali twisti. Na momba Mola tupeta. Juliet candles wamekataa kauli ya kuakia wana wa mnyonyezi. Busy asking wanani wamesahau walijipeana kwa Diana Diani. Pardon kwa Jezebel Diani. What is no longer sweet and funny. Long life to Mankush cause he is among the few when you wanna keep the fire burning. Obsession combined ni playback ya mkufu kwa akili ya mwanafuu. Hakufa COVID aliaga juu ya kula mali yani daddy's boo. Akawa infected too na sasa inamsuffocate. Pardon kauja ni get. Obsession combined ni playback ya mkufu kwa akili ya mwanafuu. Hakufa COVID aliaga juu ya kula mali yani daddy's boo. Akawa infected too na sasa inamsuffocate. Inani affect. Juu dunia ya kesho ni yangu na Hawa. Hawa wana wa Hawa hawana peupe pa kwenda wale wa kwa show vile God anawapenda. Bendera. I flag the darkness delighted in lightness. Hati itakuwa light wote tukiwa guilty for murder. Haba na haba kiovu kinajaza kibaba. Dunia inajaa singles wa mama. Children have a deficiency for fathers. Hawaendi mbali bila protectors and that's why even Jesus had a father. Mentality inafaa kuchange. Mali imefika we are not blinded, eyes not short-sighted, tuone makosa tujirearrange. Utablemaje babako kwa kumwacha mamako na wewe apart from body count ujui namba watoto wako. How did daddy do this that? Ni how you did this that. Was hoping ukigrow utalan. Hakuna kitu, lakini bado you're leaning on your flesh for thinking. Hakuna kitu new kwa world except the last of the flesh. Juka unataka maisha, tafuta eternal. Free gift of life kuna mwenye anapeana na jina lake ni Yesu. Evangelical Poet. So for the next piece itakuwa Kizungu. Just a second. Corrupted. I no longer know who to trust. Love feels like a game I'm not ready to play. Things they say matter shatter us. My body feels like a carcass and the whole world is a circus. Yesterday it was your burden, today it will be mine. Slain and thrown down the toilet drain. Rain won't be enough to wash away this stain. Let it rain harder, I can't live with this pain. Flood and wash me away, a man like me, claiming to have dignity while having none at all. Mask after mask after mask, why is it my task to bear this Adamic curse? Jesus says he's the same yesterday, today and forever. I try to call him and let him know I'm different. Growing up is tougher than what I wanted it to be. I was used to school tests because when I'm sick I evade it. Life tests come and there is no more running. You live knowing you'll never get away from the games children play. Despite how young you are, there is always a card for you to play. The road won't leave your back. Discipline is a price you must be willing to pay. Your papa loves you if only you pray. When the clock strikes midnight, it's already another new day. Love must be a sick joke, now you admit it. Papa almost made mama toothless. A forgiving heart is the only love signal you see. Papa's a blessing, needless. When one was troublesome, he was willing to fly away. When fire followed him, it left him wingless. People claim to love God and live without love, nevertheless. Maybe God asked us to love, but not on this earth. Maybe God asked us to love, but after this life. Maybe love is just but for the chosen few. It chose everyone except me and my family. My friend I see has a happy family. He doesn't know what it feels like to pray that one day he will leave his papa and mama. Only thing he knows is that he loves his papa and mama. So the families you thought will never break up eventually did. In my country, the childless don't adapt. They found a new way to deal with infertility. Leave the man or woman you married for another one. And maybe you'll eventually see a light at the end of the tunnel. While others tunnel children, those without them don't claim to help them. So children that are suffer at the hands of those who do not want them. And I'm left an African child with no one to look up to. You see, Jesus gave me poetry, and I don't try to disapprove. Jesus gave me poetry, and I don't try to destroy your hope of ever finding love. I write to share the stories of you and I with the world. I write to enlighten those in the dark. I write to remind the weary that Jesus knew. At one point our knees will be weary and he will be willing to carry us through. I know that I'm not everything that I claim to be, but if you're in this race to heaven young and innocent, don't make the mistakes that we did. But if you're part of the corrupted like me, let us hold on to this cloak of Christ. Because though we be thieves and murderers, He's still willing to dine with us in paradise. Evangelical Poets.
Sana. Sasa sijui umenipatia warning ya kwamba nisikuhoji kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Lakini naona pale unachanganya pia msimbo, unatumia Kiswahili, unatumia Kiingereza, kumaanisha tupo sawa.
Tuko sawa.
All right. So who are you? Umetoka wapi? Labda wewe ni mwanafunzi, una umri wa miaka mingapi? Halafu kwa nini chaguo Evangelical Poet?
Umeuliza maswali mingi, tuanzie gani?
Tuanze na utambulisho mwanzo.
Mimi ni Mungai Dennis, and I'm the Evangelical Poet. Mimi ni malenga, mimi huandika poetry kwa Kizungu, kwa Kiswahili. Mimi huandikia mashule wakati mwingine kwa hizo competitions za drama. Na nimekuwa nikiandika since 2013.
Since 2013?
Yeah.
Kipindi hiko ulikuwa na umri wa miaka mingapi?
Hiyo pati ya miaka umekimbizana nayo sana. Mbona una-assume niko shule?
Ule kama mwanafunzi wa shule.
Na kama mwanafunzi? It's great to look young.
Unajua wanasema kwamba ni baraka looking young than your age. Sasa miaka umekata kabisa?
Sijui mbona.
Sawa basi.
Itatoka tu. Nikijipata napeana details, itatoka tu.
Sawa. So since 2013, kwa nini kauli mbiu, that theme ya evangelism?
Sikukuwa naandika evangelism pase nikianza niliandika juu nilikuwa nahitaji kutoa kitu ndani ya moyo. Nilikuwa na struggles zangu zilikuwa zinanisumbua pale shuleni. Nilikuambia tu zitatoka. Nilikuwa high school.
All right.
I was in form 3. So it was too much. Dealing with bullies, dealing with teachers, and then teachers come to class, wanakuahidi watakuchapa, inakuachana stress. Ilitoa kuchape, ya kuahidi. Unajua ukiambiwa utaumizwa, you just keep on. Uko mtoto unashinda tu umeifikiria tu atakuja lini, saa ngapi. Anakuahidi atakuchapa, na ni kama Jesus, you don't know the hour. You just know it's coming. And pain is not something great to look for. It makes you anxious. So to deal with that anxiety, nilianza kuandika. Na polepole ikakuwa inanipea relief, because nikakuwa I can now be a master of myself instead of being mastered by anxiety. Only later on to grow up and realize it's a whole thing. Histories of mental health.
So at first ulianza na theme gani?
Nilikuwa naandika tu kutoa stress. Ukinikera, badala nikuje nigombane na wewe, naandika. Kwa mfano nakumbuka one of the early pieces before I even knew what I was writing. Ilikuwa our principal. Ilikuwa shule fulani hapo, our principal alikuwa popular kuliko shule. Alikuwa anaitwa Mr. Nabongolo. Wenye walisoma KD St. Anthony's pale Kitale wanamjua. He was very popular. So angeenda assembly aseme, form 2 mmenibo, mmefanya hivi na hivi. nikikuja huko mtajua mjui, mtakiona cha mtema kuni. Nikaenda tu nikaanza kuandika. Sasa hizo tulikuwa tumetoka nyumbani, tuko na stress ya hatujafanya hizo assignment tulipewa, na amesema anakuja kuhakikisha tulifanya hizo papers sana tupeanga, because they used to be so consistent at giving us test papers.
Okay.
And they used, for those who use them, ilikuwa inawasaidia, but kienda nyumbani umeenda umetulia,
una relax, hautaki mambo ya assignment,
hujafanya chochote. Ulikuwa unafanya yeah, so unakuta ukirudi uko na stress, alafu ndio hii amesema anakuja kufuatilia this time round.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first piece I wrote ilikuwa, one of the first pieces was The Lion Roars and Nobody Listens. Sikumbuki maneno because I wrote it on just a random piece of paper and I lost it. But ikakuwa nikikuwa na kitu inanisumbua, you vent it.
So ikakuwa ni njia moja yako ya relieve stress. But you're very young. Sasa ulikuwa na stress gani? Kuambiwa tu fanya assignment.
Kuambiwa nitakuja kupigwa.
Alright.
Nilikuwa naogopa viboko. Mimi hadi ningeambiwa tu nitapigwa. Back in primary ingelia because I'm like nikataze tu.
Alright. So at what point ukaanza sasa kui-collectify na kui-categorize?
Sasa,
this is what I want.
Hiyo ni way after this is around 2018.
Okay.
My friends are telling me most of my pieces zinaongelea gospel. Nafanya tu evangelism na poetry. Si basi nijiite evangelical poet.
Okay. So okay, kuna kitu wanasema I'm born again, why the word? Kwa sababu hapo nimesikia ukigusa 1-2 Bible verses that actually we find there to what are you trying to communicate to the people, na do you think ni content watu wana relate nayo? And maybe another question, useme nimeshikanisha nyingi, kuna any piece ushai kuperform because now this evangelical, alafu ikamgusa mtu akasema it's because of that piece, I think now I'll have to change and I need to change.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Okay.
I get that a lot. You share a piece, and people, you realize that the moment poetry is more like speaking out your heart. You see, the way men are not emotional, but now with poetry, I get to enjoy the vulnerability part of my life. And it's the same thing for musicians. It's just that with poetry, you have more details, you use more words. So people tend to concentrate more on what you say and not how you say it. Yeah, and eventually unakuta hadi these guys tu unakuta msee anakuja na kuambia bro, najua unijui lakini hiyo piece yako iliniguza mahali. Nakumbuka there is a certain show, most memorable show, nilifukuzwa stage. Na katika kufukuzwa na umati stage.
Kwa nini ulifukuzwa?
Hiyo wakati sikuwa najua kuperform confidently.
Wow.
Nikawa nafunga macho ndo nisione watu. So watu wakaboeka niache kufunga macho.
Guy, ukafukuzwa?
Yeah. So nikiwa nafukuzwa, wakati wale wananifukuza, mmoja anakuja ananipatia 200 ananiambia kitu nilifanya inamguza yani tu inamguza, inamzungumzia yeye. Anajiona mahali hapo na anafurahishwa na kile nafanya. Na akaniambia nisiache kufanya. So
how did you feel ukifukuzwa stage? You're done, so done with this.
You're done, but now when this guy comes and says thank you, it's confusing because this is a whole persecution, and then amidst all this persecution, there's someone who's grateful. So it means there's something I'm doing. It's just that back then I hadn't mastered it. I wasn't so confident. I wasn't so bold. I wasn't so outspoken like I am right now. And now I'm so outspoken. I'm bold. I can respond to questions, except your age.
Now, Mungai, kwa sababu now you have a few minutes za kuperform tena. How do you, is it that you read the Bible sana? Or is it that umeokoka sana? Actually, unajua kuna watu ambao ni wa dini tofauti, they don't believe in now getting born again. How do you get this content sasa ya kuunda this mashairi?
From the beginning ilitokana na kusoma Biblia sana. Okay. Kwa sababu ukisoma the book of Psalms unakuta it's always David expressing, and when he is expressing, he's not writing it like other parts of the Bible where it's prayerful, it's holy. In other parts he's like, I was born in sin. Like, he's so raw in his words. He's so raw in how he expresses to God. And I realized, kumbe si mbaya kuambia Mungu vile unafeel.
Yeah.
Kumwambia tu, yenyewe mi leo imenibo. Nashukuru kuwa hai lakini nimeboeka.
Isi kwa pana.
Jambo fulani na fulani imenikera. Na naomba tu grace ya kudeal na jambo fulani na fulani. Naam.
Ya mwisho sasa, kuna watu wengi wanasema, mimi I'm no longer religious, mimi I am spiritual. What's the difference between those two, you as an evangelical poet? Can you be able to draw the line?
From what I know, is that being religious is having things you're doing consistently. Because like you showing up for an 8 to 5 job is being religious about that work.
Okay.
It's just now, I guess they're talking from the spiritual perspective of what they believe in. But basically being religious is doing something consistently. Yeah, like me being a poet for all those years, it's me being religious about it. Besides me doing Christian poetry.
All right. So is it unafaa kuwa religious ama unafaa kuwa spiritual? Ama zote ziko sawa? Okay, wewe uko religious ama uko spiritual?
Niko zote, kwa sababu hauwezi kuwa kitu moja, kwa sababu there's things I do consistently. Yeah, and when I do something consistently, I'm religious about it. I do them religiously. You've heard those statements in news.
Sawa basi. So you have 3 minutes. Give us your best performance yenye ushai kufanya ikagusa watu wengi. Alafu tukafunge na kutuambia mahali tunaweza kupata.
Nitasemanga tu mahali mnaweza nipata nikifunguanga hiyo piece.
Alright.
Mnaweza nipata YouTube, Mungai's Creative Space, ama tu kisearch Evangelical Poet pale Instagram.
You're the only one.
I'm the only one. Apparently, I'm the only evangelical poet on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. TikTok kidogo siko consistent, but YouTube na Instagram, niko very religious about them.
Right, he is religious about that. So give us your best and last piece.
Wali set their standards, na sisi tukazi embrace like fools. Barely full of ourselves, we emptied us into them and gave them the power to define and devour us. Gave them the ability to even tell us what it means to be us like a curse. We started to see the color of our skins. The color of our skins ceased to be a thing of praise and beauty, and instead, the color of our skins, they convinced us is something to be ashamed of. Made us think they came in peace, yet they came to wage war. A war of their minds to fool us out of the riches of our lands. They landed into the deepest and the darkest parts of us. And like an enemy ready to strike, they waited patiently, dividing and denying us the power of free will. You know, tell them it was their idea, just so they don't realize we are actually stealing from them. So like fools that we ain't, history will remember us. How on that fateful day we were fooled, allowed to find esteem in only what they called good. Those cold-blooded enemies that slept into us and did us damage without mercy. Found the nature of the corruptible in us, and they enjoyed pulling the strings as we sheepishly and blackishly danced to their tunes. Fine tunes you call it. Fine lady, fine job, and it ain't successful if it ain't white collar. But what about our black collars? Shall we combat God for lavishly blessing us with melanin? And then came the millennial mistake. How they fooled us into believing that how they knew they can't kill us, at least not directly. So they fooled us into so they poisoned the younger us, the younger generation. So that our tomorrow is only great if it's great in their eyes. They didn't train us. So an African kid grows up to be of age, ashamed of his origin. Until T'Challa, son of T'Chaka, a black superhero, raised like a white man, rose to tell us what a black can be, that a black can be a hero. But who would have known that they were still on to fooling us but foolish us? They taught us how to be black through the panther. They told us what and who we are, but they don't know us, and neither are they gods over us. Who we are is up to us to let God decide. So like a black man is a Christian, and the white demons devoured him, left him scarred and wounded in an attempt to kill the God-love effect on mankind. Just so, none of us will be kind. Who would have known that every time we didn't call on God through the Messiah, we lost it? That every time we didn't pray, the demons preyed upon us. That every time we lust after the ungodly, the aroma of the ungodly will taste so good on our tongues that we will forget what it means to be us, God's own children. That every time we left the prayer room dissatisfied, the devil felt so satisfied that he will keep us from following God's will. And he will keep on telling us to follow our own will, which was just his will resounding in our minds. Who would have thought that a second to the enemy would have meant death? And no, we didn't cease to be gods. We just stopped believing that we are his, children not born of human will, neither of man nor of manhood, but of God in the spirit. The demons, they aren't powerful against us because we got the name to which all in heaven and on earth call on to. The name to which all in heaven and on earth and under the earth bow down to. But they were cunning and they managed to fool us into being powerless, having the godliness but not the power therein. But God in his loving kindness still calls us to himself. He ain't muted nor silenced. His love still speaks deliverance, for he asks us to sit by his right hand side in Christ Jesus. And he will set us. And though we feel weak, shaken, and forgotten, in him we remember that we have a Father who never fails us, and nothing can separate us from his love unending, not the devil nor his demons, for the liar's lies are powerless against God's grace. So today we stand proudly Christian and proudly forgiven evangelical poets.
Za TV47. Basi mtazamaji, huo ndio utakuwa mwisho wa maigizo yake Evangelical Poet. Tunachukua mapumziko mafupi tu, tukirejea mtazamaji tunarejea na riwaya yake Paul B. Vita. Hii leo tukichambua riwaya yake ya Father of Nations ambayo inaangazia nadharia tofauti za uongozi kati ya Pathway Omega na Alpha Omega. Basi mtazamaji, usiondoke hapo ulipo, sema nasi kupitia mitandao yetu ya kijamii @TV47.